Lucy and Brooke, the Supermums. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. It's cool to be here.
Oh, it's bloody great to have you guys here. And you guys reached out to me about doing the podcast, which I was so humbled by. I wanted you on, but I wanted to leave you alone as well because I thought, the mums, and they'll just want to go home and do mum stuff.
No, I knew that you would call us out for. I was me who messaged you to come on here, but we just wanted to share our story. We know that there's heaps of other mums that are out there working too, and I think it's just a nice story to share.
Oh no! What you guys have done is phenomenal. Like it's crazy. Like in terms of because at the level of, by the way, I know nothing about your sport, and my lack of knowledge will become apparent. But you can hold my hand and guide me through it. But like in terms of high performance sport, where you're talking about like marginal gains and 1%ers and things like that, like the amount of those little added extra things that you guys miss out on due to like sleep deprivation and having your mind focused on other far more important things than the sport, it can't be underestimated, and you still fucking did it.
I guess that's been part of the exercise, right? Is that we've been so trained over our whole careers to focus on the 1%ers, and then you're suddenly in this position where you don't really feel you don't really get the allowance to do that because it's changed so quickly. And I think for us, part of that was a mental shift of saying you've actually got to focus on the big rocks here because the 1%ers, sometimes you don't get them anymore.
Sucks for the Romanians who you bet. It was Romania, eh? They must be like, what do we have to do? These girls haven't even been training properly and they beat us.
They were actually lovely. Like we actually did a press conference with them straight after the race, and it was probably one of my favourite moments because I respect them. Well, we both do. We respect them so much. They have honestly been so dominant in that category for a really long time. And they're probably what motivated me a lot of our 2 years on return because I knew that the standard that they were at was, to me, it felt almost untouchable. So we had to go above and beyond just to feel like we were going to get close. And in this press conference, we basically said, it's been an honour to race with these guys because for us, they've changed the standard of the race and they just go out that first 500 so hard, and we knew that our only option to beat them was to go out with them, and we had to do it differently in that way. And their English isn't great, but then they basically, when they answered their question, were so kind to us and said they just respected so much that we could show up as mums, and for them to say that to us, I just felt so humbled by that.
Yeah, like they weren't in a position where being a parent was on their mind, and it doesn't matter what we've done, but the fact that they respected that, it was just sort of this amazing moment in that press conference that we're all sitting there like grinning at each other and feeling really proud of what you guys achieved.
We were crying. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so special. And have I got this right in saying you guys, the gold medal race was the first race that you guys have won together?
Yeah, well,
oh my God.
We won the heat, we won the semi.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that was the first big race we'd won. We came back, both our kids in 2022, and then came back to elite racing in 23, and I think it was my first B final, our first World Cup back, and managed to get fifth by the World Champs, and again we raced another World Champs this year and we got fifth, and like there were a lot of results that wouldn't have led people to think that we would have potentially get that gold, but
But you guys thought you were going to get the gold though, right?
yeah, I think no, I shouldn't say yes. We knew that we're starting from the bottom. We needed to get here, and like every day we were feeling fitter and faster, and we like knew if we could execute it really well in those final few weeks that we were in for a shot. But obviously, it's never given.
It's did you check out like sports betting odds or anything? Like you guys would have been.
Okay, so we did not, like that wasn't on my mind at all, but we actually met somebody in Italy last week who had put, I think it was €20 on us.
Yeah.
And he got back like over €2,000. And
oh my God, amazing.
Yeah.
He came and shook our hands, gave us a hug, and was like, thank you, girls.
We were like, thank you for betting on us.
Well, that must mean your odds were like 100 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't check. I'm not good at maths, but...
That is, that's outstanding. So, did you guys just peak at the right time? What is it?
I think it's a combination of, a lot of things. I think from the outside, it's because we were showing up at, say the World Cups and getting results that didn't look like on paper that we were tracking uphill, but we knew we were. I think as experienced athletes who've been to an Olympic Games before, I think we also knew what standard was required of us, and we were constantly working towards that every day. And we used to say many small steps in the right direction, because when you're in a position where you don't feel like you are at that standard, but you know what that standard is, it was about chipping away. And I think especially in the last
6
months,
weeks?
yeah.
Yeah, 6 months. We had a saying that we used to say, and that was that we were dialing it up. So we did a whole lot of like base work, same as where you're running. You do like all your base work in the bulk of the season. It's the last 6 weeks where you come to doing your primers and your fast stuff. And every week we were like, just dial it up, and hoping that we would get a bit quicker each week.
Yeah, and did you feel yourself? You must like see your times and have like good information from the training, so you knew you were getting better.
Yeah,
the dialing up thing
I think
was.
we felt it was coming. I think like we had confidence in what we were doing, and I think that's part of it, right? Is that when you're in a program that you believe in and it's proven, and we backed our team, part of it was just getting it done and trusting that then the outcome was going to be the right thing.
Mm. Yeah. So the previous Olympics, so that was Tokyo 2021. Yeah, because of the COVID delay. And you guys both won silvers,
Yes.
but not together.
No, I was in the women's double and got silver to Romania, and Lucy was in the women's 8.
Right. How cool is that? So how did you? So then, were you guys quite tight then? You knew each other quite well, or?
Yeah, and we'd actually rowed together in 2016.
Yeah, and you just missed out on making the Olympics in Rio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you rowed together, and then you didn't make Rio, so you're like, well, that's it, we're done. Let's go and consciously uncouple or whatever. And then, how did you end up back together?
No, it's been a very I don't even know how quite to put it. It's been a very lucky accident, because we haven't planned things together. Like, we both went away from the Tokyo Olympics, and both individually decided that we wanted to have kids, and we both wanted to come back. And then just by luck of timing, our kids are 3 months apart, and I managed to my daughter Kira is 3 months older, so I started training first, and Lucy followed. And it just so happened that we both tried for the double and got selected. But Row New Zealand, almost in our selection, determines you don't just get given a boat. So we've had to both trial to earn our seats back, after having kids.
Yeah. Do you think? In terms of like that selection process, is it like the two best rowers for the boat, or do you think you were paired up because you're like, say you just had a baby and you were paired with someone that didn't have a baby that wanted to train harder? It could be like a personality conflict or whatever. Do you think there was part of that goes into it, matching personality types or life stage types as well?
No, to be honest, like the way it works in rowing is that individually you get your seat, and I guess it just happened for us that it was a natural partnership, and we're lucky that as mums we get along well, and the way that worked out was not determined by Row New Zealand.
Mm.
And I felt there were plenty of other people gunning for those seats, so we had to put our best foot forward.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah, let's talk about pregnancy and your kids. So, Lucy, you've got Rupert.
Yes.
And Brooke, you've got Kira, and they're born 3 months apart in 2022.
Yes.
It seems like you guys almost planned this whole thing, eh? Like getting pregnant at the same time, coming back at the same time. Like, what are the chances?
I know.
They're so close in age.
I know. Well, essentially what happened is we both, and I actually remember having that conversation at the Tokyo Olympics, is that I was aware that Brooke wanted to have a baby, and Brooke was probably aware that I wanted to have a baby. So we both knew we were heading into this phase of life where we wanted to have children, but we definitely hadn't talked about the return to sport. And at the time, I didn't want to put any pressure on. I knew that I wasn't done with rowing, and I had this huge desire to be back rowing, but I also didn't want to place any rules around that to myself. I didn't want to say I had to be back. I had to be back there, because I was a first time mum, right? Like, I didn't know how that was going to go. I didn't know what challenges it was going to bring. So I also gave myself the grace to say, if it doesn't work out, you don't have to be back rowing. But I did train throughout my pregnancy within the Royal New Zealand team, and I didn't have a great pregnancy. I was sick basically the whole time, and I kind of hated being pregnant, if I'm being honest. But Brooke was, because she was 3 months ahead of me, when it came to the time to return back into training, and I had this tiny little newborn, because she was 3 months ahead, it was it gave me confidence, because I was watching her. You know, Brooke ended up on the podium at Nationals when she only had a 3-month-old kid, and I was sitting there with a tiny newborn thinking, okay, well, this is going well for her, so I definitely think I can keep giving this a nudge. And for me, that helped me get back on the erg and get back on the water, and yeah.
Oh, thanks for being so honest about that. Yeah, I feel like as women, there's almost an expectation that you're supposed to say, oh, being pregnant was wonderful and it was a beautiful experience and I enjoyed it, but it's not the reality for everyone, is it?
I know, and to be honest, it has taken me a long time to say that, because I think the expectation is that you're supposed to feel so connected to this thing that you're growing, and your body's doing such an amazing job of growing it. But at the time, like, for me, I just wanted it to be over, to be honest. Like, every day I was just counting
That's
down.
how I would be, I reckon, if I was able to carry a baby.
And I had you know, a friend in Cambridge that was due on the same day as me, and she ended up giving birth 4 weeks before, and I remember thinking, God damn it, like, this is not fair. And she said to me, like, my advice would be to, you know, sit down with your baby and just, you know, maybe try having a moment of saying, I'm ready for you, and, you know, you can come now. Like, welcome into this world. And I thought, oh, it's worth a shot, I'll do anything, because I'd been trying absolutely everything. Because by now I'm over my due date. And I sat down thinking, oh, I'll give that a go. And I actually couldn't do it, because I didn't have any sense of connection to, you know, this child that I've been growing, because I really resented, you know, I'd felt awful every single day, and I didn't have a sense of connection until he was born.
Wow, thanks for sharing. That's really cool. And when you say, like, who was training all the way through? Were both of you training all the way through?
Well, we both were, but in different environments, because I was training at Royal New Zealand as part of the team for as long as I could, until basically I couldn't get to the catch, because I couldn't fit my guts between my legs.
Yeah. Till when? So, like, till the 3rd trimester sort of thing, or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I think I stopped at 25 weeks.
And what sort of like workouts were you doing? How intense was it?
I guess for me, it was a little bit different. I trained away from Royal New Zealand that year, and was actually quite inspired that Lucy got to go overseas and that she was racing. And I was like, oh, wow, like, you know, it was interesting seeing that from the other side of things. And I just kept fit my whole pregnancy. I didn't follow like a strict program, but, you know, I was doing 30 minutes like each side of the day, and there's so much that you can read about people being worried about what can you do while you're pregnant. Everyone almost tends to avoid exercising, but we've been active and exercising, you know, our whole lives. That's our career, that's what we do. So it was almost just the advice I got from like physiologist stuff was to trust your body and to just do what makes you feel good. So I think I erged up to like 33 weeks, was still lifting weights. Went to the gym the day before I gave birth.
Actually?
We burst of energy.
Oh
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God.
My husband was at the point where I was like so annoyed and had way too much energy that he was just like, go to the gym. Like, you are.
So Brooke, was your whole pregnancy experience, it sounds like it was kind of different.
Yeah. Yeah, in comparison, I had a really good pregnancy and loved being pregnant and enjoyed like watching my body change and everything that we went through. I feel like the funny side of it is, though, I probably had the worse of birth than, you know, Lucy's.
Oh, did you?
Lucy's went the other way.
Yeah, what was your birth experiences like?
Mine was straightforward.
Yeah.
Brooke's got, I would say, a little bit of birth trauma.
Yeah, we ended up, you know, labouring for 18, 20 hours and then ended up with an emergency C-section. So that's, yeah.
Oh my God, 18 hours.
Which I think is a general amount of labour. Like, you were probably similar in terms of like,
really
labouring, but I mean, it's just a bit annoying to do all that labour and then still have to have them come out the sunroof.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So her recovery.
In a cesarean, that makes the recovery way worse, doesn't it, in terms of core?
Yeah. Yeah, my core was really painful, like lying down in bed with a newborn baby. I would have to like brace myself every time I wanted to sit up, and you're not allowed to drive and things like that. I think I was fortunate in how my body actually physically did recover, and being an athlete, like the second that they say you can go for a walk, I was out there power walking, and like the second you can say you can do
Whatever
something.
you were running.
Oh my God, you're built different, eh? She's a savage. Is she like the alpha dog on the boat?
Yes, she is. She was running.
I followed all the correct protocols. I just pushed it to the limit.
Well, I mean, when you're high performance athletes like you guys, I don't know, I'm completely imagining here, but I think you must be, fear about losing fitness, I guess. So even though you're doing like a double workout day, you're doing less than what you normally do. You must be, I don't know, does it play in the back of your mind that the Romanians are making all these gains while you're losing fitness?
Yeah, it's really hard to feel content and patient when you feel like you're under time pressure. And I think for both of us, we actually recovered from birth relatively smoothly. Like I think we both had a great return to training, but at the same time, you can't help but feel like you're losing ground.
You're constantly on the back foot.
Yeah.
And I think you come back into a program where other people haven't had this time off, and you're playing catch up on where everyone else is at.
And just little things like I did train basically for as long as I could, and then once I got back into the program when Rupert was maybe 10 or 12 weeks old, I got a DEXA scan done, which is, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically a full body scan. And I had one done before I was pregnant with my muscle mass, and then one done at 10 or 12 weeks postpartum where I could see my muscle mass. And I'd lost, I think it was something like 5 kgs of just pure lean mass, which I mean is completely understandable, but I still felt so annoyed about it. Like so annoyed.
Oh my God. You guys, and to make things, to add like an extra layer of complication, the COVID thing meant it was like a 3 years between Olympics, right?
Which at the time we felt under huge time pressure about. But I think in hindsight, since the games, we've both come to realise that actually what we did with the kids was full on, and it was busy, and it was a lot, and maybe if we'd had to do it for a whole nother year, we might not have been able to sustain that, and maybe maybe our timing was perfect and the window was just right. I don't know.
Well, where are those gold medals? I was going to say the gold medals are proof that it was perfect. Where are they?
I left it out there on the
Just
table.
leave them out there. Jackson, my camera guy, he will steal them. Jack, hang on, excuse me, I'm going to go and grab them. Just leave them out there. Tell you what, whenever I get to see one of these, I get goosebumps. Hey, there's something really, really special about it. Yeah, how do you guys feel?
Yeah, I still feel pretty special.
Man, that's so cool. All right, let's talk about that. So, did you go to the opening ceremony?
No, we didn't.
No. Because you were out of town, like 20 k's out of town. Or?
Yeah, staying at this lovely French manor just out of town, which was way easier for us for commuting. The commute from the other village was over an hour, and we had a pretty easy 20-minute drive from there.
But did you not want to soak it up and be part of it?
Not really. No.
It was really good to watch on TV, but it did look miserable.
Yeah, and it was so close to when our rowing starts that by then I just wasn't even really tuned into. I mean, I think the opening ceremony was playing on my TV, but we were so close to racing that I watched the first 10 minutes, and then I think I went to bed anyway. And to be honest, I was a little bit on edge about the security of the whole thing. I was a little bit nervous about, if anything's going to go wrong, it could be at the opening ceremony. And then I thought the same when we went to the men's 100-metre final, which was amazing and such a cool experience. But at the same time, there was so many helicopters circling, and I had a second of being like, oh, are we all good here?
Have you always been that way, or is it since you become a mum?
I think it's since I've become a mum.
You've always been that way.
Oh, really? Is she like the safety mom? Yeah. Oh, God. Like that opening ceremony was incredible, eh? Like it's the most incredible Olympic opening ceremony ever. That it happened, with the city as the backdrop rather than just being in a stadium. But the security behind it, you could see snipers on rooftops and stuff.
I know.
It's incredible.
I know. I mean, I'm sure they had it covered, but
it
was crossing my mind.
So, so the competition starts. So how many races do you have before the final?
We had two before the final.
Okay, so the first heat. What happens?
Oh, good. I can't remember.
What do
you mean? What do you mean?
I can't remember who was in our race.
Are you kidding? It's your Olympic campaign.
We won our heat.
We did. We won our heat and we won our semi-final.
I remember being probably the most nervous for the semi-final because I think that's a race that you can get caught out in if you're too busy thinking about the next race, and actually quite often semi-finals are the hardest race. And we had a really great race and won that, but we got to watch the semi-final behind us, and crews that had just won at the World Cups and had been on the podium at the World Champs before missed out on the A final, and that was a moment that probably shook us a little bit to be like, holy shit, like we've just made this A final, and these crews that have just won the World Cup and have won last year that we've been chasing aren't in that final. And it was a really moment that we probably took a second to look at each other and be like, I think we could do this. It was quite a goosebump moment.
Yeah, so in the final where you won these gold medals, it's 2,000 metre race. You did 6 minutes, 50 seconds. What was it in the heats? Similar time? Faster? Slower?
We actually went faster in the semi-final.
The timings are almost irrelevant, I think.
Are they? Why so?
Oh, you don't really compare from day to day just because the conditions are so variable. Okay. Everyone's hanging out for a day with a fast tailwind so that you can have a crack at the world record.
What is the world record?
6:37.
Oh, shit.
So quite far off that.
Right.
Yeah. But Paris was quite a windy course. There was quite a bit of wind all over the place.
Before our race, Emma Twigg had raced the semi-final, and you could see the flags blowing down the course, and it was this really nice tailwind. I remember her coming up and being like, girls, great water out there. And then by the time we hopped on, the flags were just mulling around, wind.
This is fascinating to me. There's so many nuances to your sport that I had no idea about. Actually, there's a quote here from you, Lucy. And it's a paragraph which I've never read before in my life, and I've got no idea what it means, really. I've come back into the sculling side after sweeping. I knew coming back from pregnancy it was always going to be a better decision for me to row on a single and manage my own training, which is why I sculled during my pregnancy as well. I don't know what any of that means. What is that? It's like a different language.
Sorry. Okay, so in Tokyo I was in the women's 8, which is sweep rowing, which means I have one oar. So I go out one side of the boat. 4 of us go out one side and the other 4 go out one way. So I guess I was specialising in the sweep rowing for the previous 4 years. But the thing about the sweep rowing is that you can't do it alone, because if you do it alone, then you fall out, because you always need someone out the other side. So knowing that I was coming back from pregnancy, I had nobody to row with. So I thought, well, rowing in the single is going to be my best return to training. And in the single is the 2 oars, which is what we do in the double.
Right. Thanks for you broke that down for me like I'm an idiot, and I appreciate it because I am. I had no idea what that meant. Okay, so the final comes, and then do you guys have like a pre-race routine or superstitions or anything like that? Like what does that day look like?
I do remember the final.
You should hope. Yeah, that's the one. Does this bring back any memories?
Yes, I do remember the final.
Yeah. So what time of the day is the race?
It's in the morning, 11 o'clock.
I say it was 11:18, but
she would know.
Detail girl.
Actually, Lucy, you said this out. I'll speak to Brooke about this. So do you sleep all right the night before?
We slept amazing.
We slept great for 3 weeks because we were in the manor.
Oh yeah. Without the kids. Were the kids there or no?
The kids were in Paris, but and we'd been away with our kids, and both of us had our parents there for 6 weeks.
Yeah, prior to that, we'd been at Airbnbs with the kids, coming home from training, looking after them and doing all that kind of thing. And for the 10 days leading into our final, we got to go into the manor, and we were calling it our Olympic retreat because we were there eating buffet meals and getting full night's sleep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, there's little things like that you don't even think about. Like a lot of people are probably there and they're highly strung and they're uptight, but for you guys, it's a holiday.
Yeah, I was like, my bed's made.
A lot of people are sick of living in hotels because that's what you normally do for a few months leading into the Olympics. But yeah, we were definitely living our best lives.
Yeah. So you sleep well. You set an alarm or you wake up naturally?
Definitely set an alarm.
Yeah.
We have a routine that we do before every race, which would be to get up and to do a pre-row, so that rather than going down to the lake and using all that time, we would just do a little 4K paddle on the erg before our race, which is just a nice time to reset and start thinking about the race.
Yeah, we actually did it beside each other, and we kind of talked through what would be, I guess, the ideal scenario not for how the race would play out in terms of the other boats, but how we would be feeling in terms of executing our own race plan. And that's sort of what you do leading into any finals, that you have your own specific race plan. And in the previous days leading into the final, I almost craved us rowing down the course and just running through it in our minds, because we know it so well by that point that it's kind of has got to the point where all Brooke needs to say is, yep, at certain markers, and I know exactly what she means, and I know exactly how I'm going to be feeling. And for me, it becomes like a real safety net to be able to run down the course and run through that and just like visualize. It was just the place that I wanted to be in. You know, when you're so nervous, it was nice to sit there together and just know that we're feeling the same, and that's what we feel like doing, I guess, for our pre-rowers, sitting on the erg together and running it through.
Yeah, by the way, I love how you say we just do it like a light 4K warm-up. Like, I think most people can probably visualise like a rowing machine at the gym, and 4Ks is a long way. I suppose not for you guys. Like,
no, we're pretty happy when it gets down to being a 4K.
We get to do that. We get to do 4K probably twice a year. And it's the day before the Olympic final and the day before that.
Well, what's an intense training session like?
Generally, training sessions in the bulk of the season are like 2-hour sessions, and they're really specialised to be in like the correct heart rate zones, and every session sort of has a purpose. So some might be that you're just long, steady state, but trying to hit your heart rate right in your zone, and others are threshold sessions where you're again so that mid-race pace and getting your heart rate into those zones. And then we do the max sessions, which I talked about in the last 6 weeks, where you're trying to dial it up and trying to get more and more out of your max.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I think it's very similar to what you do with your running training.
Don't, by the way, this is very, very flattering, but you don't lump me into your professional athlete chat.
Okay,
I'm like
back
a week.
to the run sheet. Brooke writes the run sheet for the day of our race.
Oh, right.
So we actually
run sheet, what do you mean?
Well, that's just how the day is going to go in the final. So we have a shared note on our iPhone, and the day of the final, all I need to do is click into it, because Brooke has written exactly where I need to be at exactly what time.
Amazing. How did you fall into these roles?
It would naturally not be my strength, which is
Right.
probably...
Yeah, I'd say I like the organisation side of things.
Yeah.
And it's something that we like flick to our coach as well, so who knows where we're going to be. But it's very rinse and repeat. You do the same thing for every single race. So all I'm doing when I'm writing a run sheet is scribbling out the times and putting the new times in, which are things like you put our race time that we're going to be on the water 30 minutes before that. We're going to be on the erg an hour before that, and then we're going to eat 3 hours before. And it's actually a nice way to fill in the day, because you can get caught up worrying about the race and what's going to happen, but actually you're like, oh, just look at my notes. What do we want to do next? Like, what's right in front of us that we need to do?
And Lucy, if you're running late or something, does she get mad?
Well, I don't run late because I have the run sheet.
yeah, no fear, touche. Okay, so you're training in the morning of the final. Then you just leisurely trip to. What do you eat? What do you eat that morning?
I would have had peanut butter on toast.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I had too.
Just like some carbs.
Yeah. And honestly, I remember sitting there in the dining hall together, and it's a weird thing, right? Because right the way through the campaign, you sit there with the whole team, you know, everybody has breakfast at the same time, and then suddenly it's just two of you sitting there before your race. It's dead quiet, and you know you're heading into your final, and you got to go in the van down together. Like it's all very, it's quiet.
And are you excited? Are you petrified? What's going through your minds?
I wouldn't say I was petrified. I was definitely. I felt like I was ready. I felt like it was the day to see what could happen.
And you hoped for gold, but so when you made it to that final, like where were you expected to finish? Do you think?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. I hadn't really given a thought to where other people expected we should finish. But I think warming up and sitting in the start blocks, I just respected everybody else in that race so much that I never felt like winning was going to be easy. I never felt like we were likely to win. I felt like I could win, but I also felt like we'd put ourselves in a position where if we were going to win, it could be today.
Getting nervous, like hearing that, like it makes my heart rate, makes my heart rate go up again.
Really? Like sort of reliving it,
Just
or
reliving it, yeah.
so you're like back on the water now.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
gonna go out for a nervous poo.
Oh my God, do you have nervous? We all have nervous pose. It's quite, geez. Yeah, for a pre-run event, like you go to the portal and then go straight back in the line again for another one. But I suppose you have to time your nervous poo because once you're on the water or near the water.
We've got a 5-minute buffer in our run check.
Time for that.
And Brooke, how are you feeling? Did you feel like you were going to win?
Not necessarily. I think it was a race, and like we've spoken about, we had such a plan, and like we knew exactly how we wanted to execute it. That I was genuinely just thinking about what we needed to do to execute. I remember being so nervous sitting in the start blocks, and the only thing that I could think of that was like helping me was that I had to like, and it's true, like I was excited to get to push, to get to use my legs, because you're sitting there and you're so jittery that I was just like, okay, I just can't wait for the buzzer to go off so I can just push my legs as hard as I can and like actually get to feel and get to come into the race.
I also had the sense of I think when I sat in the start line in Tokyo, I had more of an expectation on myself for a sense, or I definitely had a sense of this needs to go well. Whereas, this might be the effect of having children. This might be my perspective because of Rupert, but I think I had more of a you truly have done what you can here without having to compromise with him. So whatever will be today will have to be because you've given what you can, which felt like a peaceful place for me to sit in.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. And so the waiting bit, when you're waiting for the final to start, are you guys like chatting and laughing and having banter with each other, or no? Or do you process things differently, or
no? We're generally pretty lighthearted. If we have a reason to laugh or something to laugh about, we
like a nervous poo.
But I just remember sitting in that start blocks. We had the French in our final. And the French is such a rowdy crowd, and it goes through each crew and sort of announces each crew one by one. And when they said the French, they were in one of the early lanes, and the crowd that are 2K away just went crazy. Like you can hear it from sitting in the start blocks.
Wow! Oh my God, that is so awesome.
It was cool.
Okay, cool. So then the race starts. Oh, by the way, Lucy, you mentioned before, like on the water. You don't really talk, but Brooke says and you know what it means.
Yeah, by the time we're racing, I mean we're talking heaps when we're warming up and stuff. But by the time we're coming down the track, because your heart rate's so high and because you just tapped right into your top end, she can't get out more than basically
grunt or
basically sitting in bow seat. It's easier for me to talk because Lucy doesn't have to turn around to speak. So I end up running through most of the race plan as we spoke about, like things we do on the warm up and things we do on the day before. Is that we'll come down the course and I will like talk the whole 2K about what our race is going to be like. So I might be like, first 10 we're going to really squeeze on our legs. Second 10 we're going to lengthen it out a bit. And even to the point where we're coming into the last 500, just in training, like I would have been like, okay, here comes the grandstand. Like feel that close in on us. Like I'll be talking about the noise that we're going to hear, and I'll be talking about how we're going to do a 10 here. And it's so like it's actually quite specific that by the time we do race, I've gone over that so many times that like just these yips, we have visualized this moment so many times that we know exactly what the other person is about to do and what we expect of each other.
Now, what does that mean though? Does it mean like increasing the stroke rate, or?
Mm-hmm. So there's times that's what the yip will mean. there's
what if you get the yip wrong?
There's a bit of tone in it as well.
Oh, okay. I was like, all right. Well, you guys are that in tune with each other.
I think by the final we are.
Yeah.
It was quite incredible to actually feel that and to be able to do it, because I think I almost overdo the talking because I'm so worried I'm going to forget or miss something. But honestly, by the time we do it, it's with that in sync that we understand.
And we've told this story probably a few times now, but we talked a lot about the Romanians are really great at sprinting over the last 500 metres basically. They're known for being able to get their stroke rate up really high and just go for it. And we had in our minds that they were potentially going to be absolutely lethal there, and we didn't want to be in a position where we were right beside them because we knew that that could happen. And if it did, what were we going to do? And all we could think about and all we kept coming back to was Joe and Nathan in their London final in the men's double, and how they were just still storming from behind and just coming through, and the speed that they had on their boat in the last 500. We were like, if we're in that position, it needs to be punchy, short, like we're going to have to chuck in some really big ones. And lo and behold, we were in the position where we were right beside the Romanians. And we were kind of in a position where we were like covering them, but just, like only very, really just. And I think I had going through my mind the whole time, they're going to come, they're going to come, they're going to come at us. And in training, when we were practicing the race plan, Brooke had always said, and if we need to at 100 metres, like when I say go, like we know what that means. That's just like the last.
Spend yourself.
Yeah. And instead of go, I think she said Joe. Which was just
clever.
So funny. Because it was so relevant to exactly, you know, the way we were thinking about it.
Amazing. Yeah, because I've heard you or read about it in other interviews where you talk about how with 500 metres to go, you were thinking about Joe and Nathan. By the way, those guys, same event, right? And they won a gold in 2012 in, where was that? London. Yeah. And I was curious, like how you were both thinking about them at the same time. But is it because of the visualization and stuff that you talked about previously?
Yeah, and that race is just so iconic.
Yeah.
For to watch as rowers, the way they did that, people don't often do it like that. So I think it's just really embedded in my mind for, you know, such an outstanding race of what's capable in a short amount of distance.
Yeah. So your event, your back's to the finish line, eh? Yeah. So you're rowing. So when you're in the lead position, you know you're in the lead. Or are you sort of looking around in your peripheral vision, or?
I tend to take a couple more looks earlier in the race to try and let Lucy know where we are, but coming into the line, like I'm not really looking out because of the risk of, you know, catching a bad stroke. The whole time we probably didn't watch the race back and we didn't actually realise how close it was, and we knew that we were right there with Romania, but I had no clue really if our bow was in front. I was hoping that my shoulders were just in front of the girl next to us, but we had no clue until we crossed the finish line. And I think we were so in the moment of our race that, you know, going from the 500, every 10 strokes we were just giving it more, to the point where I knew that, you know, if we crossed the finish line and if it had been silver or bronze, that I would like to think that I would have been happy because I knew that was my best on the day.
So when did you realise you were going to get a medal though, or you didn't?
I genuinely didn't think about winning a medal. I can say honestly though, in Tokyo the race was a bit different. The field was way more spread. Romania had a really good lead, and we probably weren't going to catch them. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, we could get silver. Like, mid-race, like, that's pretty cool. And then we almost got bronze. And then, like, this race, it didn't even cross my mind. It was just about being so... And I think it's quite a special thing. That's how it happened. That's how it played out. It's so in the zone that I was just thinking about, you know, giving my all those every stroke.
So when do you realise?
I think I knew, like, your peripheral vision, I had a sense that we were up. You know, like, I wasn't looking sideways. I was looking only down my own track. But I think I knew, and I think I knew it was close, but I didn't realise quite how close.
Yeah, because how many times have you guys watched the race?
Only twice, to be
Really?
honest.
Why?
It took about a week for me to watch it as well.
How come?
I think it just, like, brings back literally, like, all the emotions that you just felt. And, like, I cried the first time I watched the race back, being like, wow, like, that's
At what point?
did.
Like through the race, or just at the end?
No, I was probably crying.
But I could watch any of our team race their Olympic final on TV now, and I could cry probably. You know, like just the sense of emotion and what everyone's gone through to be in. You know, I could watch any one of those finals and probably still cry. But I am looking forward to watching it with our coach, to be honest, which we might do this weekend.
When you guys watch it, do you see flaws?
100%.
Really?
I have the worst rowing technique, and I watch it.
Do you? What do you mean?
I'm so embarrassed at how I row.
What do you mean?
Good, I'm there breaking my arms. And any rowers listening will fully understand, but I think, you know, that's okay.
Oh, it's effective.
we use quite a lot of video analysis. Like, we're used to watching ourselves, and I think every time we get video, which when we're in training is probably on a weekly basis, the first thing you do is look at yourself and think, oh, yuck. because straight away you see what could be better, and you've got a picture in your head of what's perfect, and it's hard to get what's perfect at really high rate when you're absolutely spent. So naturally, the first thing you do is see your flaws and think, ugh, yuck.
I think rowing's a sport though where you're always chasing perfection. Like there would be no rower that would tell you that they're a perfect rower, and I think that's what keeps us hungry to keep coming back. Is that you're every day like looking at those things and like, oh, I wish it was better, and yeah, it's quite humbling.
Yeah, that really is. Oh, it's a great race to watch. Yeah, 'cause there's the horn that goes off when you cross the line. So it's like horn for you guys, a fraction of a second later, another one for Romania, and then maybe a couple of seconds for third. So you do you hear like friends and family in the stand, or do you see it on the screen that you've won?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We probably obviously a little bit exhausted, so you're sitting there and
By the way, you guys looked you looked absolutely fucked at the end, eh?
Yeah.
I honestly was. Yeah.
There's a wee screen that pops up, and the spectators can't see it, but we can see it, and it's like NZR 1, Romania 2nd. Like that's that moment of being like, and then about 2 seconds later, at the end of the pontoon where we push off from, it's this big like, whoa, and it's our coach, and I've never seen him get that far off the ground. But he's standing at the end of the pontoon, giving us this big whoa, and like we're both like doing him back, and we're completely spent in it. Yeah, it was just crazy.
That must be, yeah. I mean, it's a feeling that just such a slither of the population will ever get to experience. Like it's phenomenal. Just that feeling of exhaustion, but also just like
Yeah, it's exhaustion mixed with elation, which you're right. I'm not sure I'll ever. I don't know if I'll ever feel that again. Yeah. Well, giving birth.
better. Yeah. Okay, what's better? Like I think legally you have to say childbirth, but
oh, not mine.
yeah. So then what happens? You still have to row your way to the.
Yeah. So the next hour was actually awesome because we go through this media shoot. You get off the water, go through this media shoot, and then basically you roll straight into your podium ceremony, which they give you about 2 minutes to put that tracksuit on. And they're literally counting you down from 2 minutes. So you're this hot, sweaty mess quickly trying to zip up this tracksuit because it's all to such tight timing because we finish our medal ceremony, which basically I felt like I sobbed my whole way through. And then
it's great to watch. It's wonderful. You guys just look so happy, which obviously you are, you know.
Yeah, it was just crying. It was just so. It just felt like you stand there and all the emotion just comes together at once. That's what it felt like for me. Yeah, and you can see your family in the crowd, and
Yeah, what are you thinking when the anthem's playing? Or are you just exhausted?
Oh, I think I was still just on that level of elation and just feeling, so grateful and so probably still a little bit in shock.
Yeah,
it's crazy because it's not a moment that you particularly prepare yourself for, and then to be standing there, and New Zealand's anthem's very long, so you've got a lot of time to like sit or to be standing there and to be processing this goal that you've had for 15 plus years, you've actually done. And for me, I think I've watched, the races of the Ever Spindales, I've watched Joe and Nathan's race, Emma and all the amazing people in Tokyo, Mahe. And then to be like, wow, I'm standing here in that same spot that they stood in is, just kept taking me by surprise. And I think I would like pull myself together on the podium and 2 seconds later be like, and then I'd look over and see my family, see Karen again, be like, oh.
And you probably can't hear it. Obviously, you can't hear it on the TV, but there is moments like through the anthem where one of us would do like a.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it. Really? Does the mic pick it up?
No, the mic doesn't pick it up. That's what I'm saying. You can't hear it.
All right.
Like, obviously, we can hear each other for the odd whimper.
Oh my God! What a thing to experience.
Honestly, the ultimate feeling is happiness, though. That like a lot is going through your head.
But then it just got better because we sort of left the podium, and then our men's four came down, and then it felt like, was it men's four first or women's four? Women's four.
Your sister.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Your sister Phoebe got a bronze.
Yeah. So like I left the podium, or maybe it was just before the podium. I can't even remember. It was such a crazy hour, but we're standing right there, then screaming for our teammates in again what was like a super close finish. So, and then we had the men's four do exactly this, the same thing in a close finish. So it just, the whole hour was, unbeatable for me.
Yeah, so, and incredible for New Zealand as well, which is amazing. But your sister, you got a bronze. That's right. You guys are sort of like the Barretts of rowing. Any other siblings that row?
Yeah, so Phoebe has a twin, and she used to row too, but she now lives in the States. Yeah, doesn't row anymore.
In the women's four, there were two sisters, Kerry and Jackie as well, and I was joking to Davina, the other girl in the four, that we need to pretend we're sisters because everyone's got this wee sister bond going on.
Yeah. And then, so the gold medal ceremony, then are you pulled away for like drug testing or anything like that?
Basically,
Yes.
we had this quite sweet moment though, leaving the pontoon. All our family were like standing at the front, and we were quickly being ushered because you have to move your boats because the next races are coming down. And we got this moment, and we could see our kids, and we hadn't seen them for a few days because we've been on a retreat. And we said to this woman, like, "That's our kids. Can we go see them?" And she basically was like, wanted to say no because of the timing was so strict. She basically just covered her eyes and was like, "Just go." And then we.
I think she even said, didn't she say, she was like, "I'm a mum, go."
Oh, that's incredible.
So there's photos that people might have seen where we have this, quick little cuddle with our kids, which again was really special. I'm so glad we got that moment with them because the rest of the day was just carnage going through media and drug testing, and we didn't see our coach even for a couple of hours, and then
we never saw the kids again that day.
No.
Yeah.
But then, the other side is that we got to celebrate with the men's and women's four, and got to go to the New Zealand house that night and be with them all.
Oh, it's so special. And yeah, your kids, Rupert and Kira, so they're a similar age, both toddlers, like sort of 18 months old? What are they?
Rupert is 20 months old
20.
now.
Yeah, Kira's just
21.
turned 2.
Yeah, so they don't really have an appreciation of what's going on. What's their take on it?
Oh, yeah, no. But at the time, at the games, I don't think either of them had a sense for what was going on other than the fact that they were in the stands in super hot weather being fed ice blocks.
They know to clap when everyone else
They
claps.
know to
Right. So it's just mummy's going to work sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
generally what Kira says. Mummy, work? Yes, I am.
Mummy work again? Oh, God, does that make you feel terrible?
No.
Oh, that's so awesome.
But
What an
they're sort of
experience.
at an age now where they've actually, by default, spent so much time together. And, they've grown up in a way together. Like I remember them at our first World Champs when Rupert was 8 months and, Kira was nearly 1. And it's really nice now to see them at an age where they're starting to get an appreciation for each other. They're at the age now where they really know each other. And, they walk into a room and they want to give each other a hug, which ends up being a big shove, and then there might be tears. But they start to know, like they definitely have a close relationship, which to me I feel it's really special that we've been able to give them that in a way.
Yeah. Oh, it's so unique and so special. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the way that we've been on tour, with our whole families, it is unique, and I can't think of another way that it would have happened, that we would have lived in Airbnbs next door to each other with our kids and our parents for 4 weeks. Like it is unique, and it has been special.
And what now? You keep going or you done?
Good question.
Or is this a question that you can answer collectively, or is this like an individual thing?
Well, I think at the moment, and again, I don't want to answer for Brooke, but I think we're both sitting in a place where we can't give you 100% yay or nay. I want to be comfortable sitting with feeling like I don't have to decide yet, but I definitely, I definitely am feeling an urge to go back and do it all again, and I don't know if that's the endorphins of what it's been, and yeah. I can't give you a definite, but I do feel still really positive about this sport and what it's giving me and the way it's going.
Yeah. What about you, Brooke?
No, yeah, that's the same for me. I guess, going forward 4 years is a long time, and, I would love for Kira to have a sibling. So, if that can happen down the track, and if I could still make it back in a boat, that would be amazing. But if also I, get to the stage where it's something I don't want to do, I'm not going to force myself. So it's really, like Lucy said, just sitting with it and seeing what feels right.
Yeah, and you both must have the confidence now that you can do. If you want to have another kid, have another kid. Yeah, you can come back.
Honestly,
you
the
know
thought
what I mean?
of doing it with 2 kids, though, I think we'll scrape by with one. Might be taking way more than I can do.
All right, let's talk about some of the training and bits and pieces that go with training and being a new mum that led up to that gold medal moment. So first of all, obvious sacrifices.
Yeah, sometimes I'm hesitant to call it sacrifice, even though I guess it was. But to me, sometimes the word sacrifice makes it sound as if it's something that doesn't feel right or you don't want to be doing. And at the end of the day, we completely chose this for ourselves. And not only did we choose it once, but like we chose it every day, because we both said at the start that in no way would we compromise the kids. That was just, we weren't going to do it. So we wrote down basically 2 goals, and we said we want to win Olympic gold medals, but we want to be the best mums that we can be. And we felt that one could not work without the other, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't working out, if it wasn't balanced, we would have just walked away from the rowing. So I'm always hesitant to call it sacrifice, because the word feels wrong to me, because I was so grateful to be in a position that we were choosing this every day and choosing how to make it work. But in saying that, it was a juggle, and the sacrifice, to use a word, was probably the time, like the balance of how do you give your best to 2 things that are so important, and 2 things that, in my mind, the rowing had always required the 1%ers. And part of that was going back to, okay, well, if you can't always give the 1%ers, what is the big rocks here that we absolutely need to nail? And we did have to make a few compromises on the way that we, I guess, in our previous Olympic campaign had thought that was the only way to do it. Like, we did have to change that up a bit. And I think the strength in changing that up was that we then had each other to be able to be like, yeah, no, I'm comfortable with this. This is working. Like, we could see the gain.
Yeah, and our coach was amazing in that. He's done things one way, and that's what has always worked. And there are a few things that we had to work with him on, be like, okay, like this just isn't working for us. And at any point we had those sort of teething moments where things weren't working. He was great just to sit down and chat with, and he would understand where we were coming from, and just even making small tweaks to make our days slightly easier made all the difference.
Like what?
Well, that reminded me of, like, we did have a time where Brooke was actually injured. Brooke, she had a broken rib, and we were basically suffering through some pretty big weeks, and it was that time in the year where you have to get through the big weeks, and we sort of had fallen into, because we were handling the training at that point in the year and we were getting better, I guess our coach was only lumping on
more work
because we were handling it, and Brooke was doing massive hours on the bike. And we got to a point where we started adding in the 3-session-a-day thing, which is quite, Rowing New Zealand does that all the time. Often we have 2 days that are 3 sessions a day. And it just got to a point where, like, we went out for a coffee with him, and I remember I just started crying, and I was like, if this is it, if this is what I have to do, like, I won't make it. But very quickly, like, we adapted, and it wasn't because I wasn't handling the training, but I had got to a place where I felt like I couldn't be a mum, and I was feeling guilty about that. Like, I felt like I couldn't go home and even function, the way I needed to, and I was cancelling every single appointment that I had outside of just training just to survive, and that's not really sustainable either.
Yeah, it almost becomes like slightly selfish at that point, doesn't it? I suppose if you're a young rower, like in your late teens, early 20s, and you're doing that, you can just go home and eat and sleep and repeat.
Often coaches look at, like, how you're, pulling up each day. Like, they might see at the end of a training session, like, oh, she looks quite cracked, like she's crying, like, this week probably has been too big. And we're old enough and experienced enough that, like, we could do the training, we could get through the work, but what our coach and other people couldn't see is that we would be at home absolutely cracked, lying on the floor, like, just managing to get by and still having to look after kids. So whereas other people can go home and lie in bed and watch Netflix, like, you're still getting out off your seat 10 times because your kid needs something, which again you're going to do because you're a mum, but that's the side of things that the coach and team can't necessarily see. So we had to have those, like, open conversations to be like, look, I don't think we can do this, even though you might be sacrificing a result at the end. It's not worth it to not be able to be the great mums that we set out to be.
Yeah, 100%. And what about like energy levels and sleeping patterns and things like that? like your sleeping patterns must have been all over the place,
They
right?
were compromised, yeah.
Were you-
And we'd be lying to say that our energy levels and sleep patterns were good, of a good standard, because for most of it they just weren't. And we just got good at functioning in that space, and it was a really safe space to be able to show up and know that Brooke potentially had a shit night too. And sometimes we wouldn't talk about it until we often have really massive sessions on Wednesday and Saturday mornings, and sometimes if the session, I remember one in particular was like hugely gnarly, and we'd wait until we'd finished it on those days, and then we'd be like, how did you sleep last night?
Oh my God, it's like a conscious thing, or what? Why?
I think you don't want to admit it before the session because you're like,
Is it like making an excuse?
yeah, you're like, I know, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish the session, we'll get through it, and then I'll admit that I've only had 4 hours broken sleep.
And sometimes the way for me to deal with it would be like, okay, I had the worst night, but like she might be all good. So like, we'll get through this, So if she had a bad night too, I definitely don't want to know about it before it starts.
And what about like home dynamics and stuff? Like, could you, why don't you guys like sleep in separate rooms and have your partners sleep in the room with the baby or something?
That just was not the case
No?
for me. I know other athletes, I've listened to podcasts and I hear that they've done that. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But my daughter, I think there's no badges of honour for not sleeping, but she hasn't been the best sleeper, and I've been, the one getting up to her most of the time. My husband works in Rotorua, we live in Cambridge, he commutes the hour, so like, we're also don't want him sleep deprived, and I think being a mum, you're often the person that hears the noise first. And again, that's a part of motherhood that I want to do. It can be equally special and annoying having those moments in the night with your kid, and that's something that I wasn't willing to sacrifice on, I guess.
Wow, that's inspirational. That's really cool. Jeez. She's going to hear this one day and know how lucky she is, I'm sure. Well, no, actually she won't.
And when she hears it, she should know that she...
And what about navigating like breastfeeding and stuff like that? Did you have like nannies at home, or did you take with the babies, at the gym or the lake? And
yeah, early on we had them at the lake quite a lot, because I can remember breastfeeding before a weight session. And then our strength and conditioning coach, I would bring down the front pack, and there was a couple of times where she would walk him to sleep after I'd breastfed. And then I started, I guess both of our journeys were different because everyone is different in that regard. But then I started expressing, got him onto a bottle, and then I switched to sort of a mixture of breastfeeding and formula fed. And yeah.
Amazing.
I think I fed Kira till she was about 8 months old. I remember being in the athlete lounge, and there was another guy, and I was like, sorry, I'm just pumping. Like, we'll put my milk in the fridge. Like, please don't drink that after training.
This protein shake tastes really, really funny. Kind of sweet. Is it sweet? Apparently it's sweet. I don't know.
Staff ran out of milk for the coffee, I ended up.
Yeah, they don't know. But...
What about the sort of conversations you had? Lots of conversations about nappy rash and sleep.
Yeah, everything. And even thinking about one of our very first World Cups that we went to, that was actually the way that I weaned Rupert off breastfeeding, because he was only 4 or 5 months old, and I didn't take him, and we only went for 10 days, and that was how I just sort of said, okay, that's going to be done. Which in hindsight, I've heard other people talk about. When they've weaned, how terrible their bodies have felt and how it's been such an adjustment for 2 weeks. But I obviously hadn't read anything, and I just stopped, and maybe that wasn't the smartest. Maybe that's the reason our World Cup wasn't good.
What happened at the World Cup? That was a year earlier, eh?
That was our very, very first World Cup. So that was our freshest international race, and that it wasn't good, but part of it for us was just... We'd just come back and we had to rip the Band-Aid off somehow. We had to get out there.
You had to draw a line in the sand. I think we could have easily, and even coming back into the Row New Zealand program, you could easily hide yourself away and wait for a moment where you're going to feel good and where it's all going to feel perfect. But, that was never going to be the case. And we just wanted to get out there and just genuinely see where we're at. And we weren't expecting amazing things. But it's still, when we'd come off these amazing Tokyo campaigns where we, had won at these World Cups, going to be third in the B final, getting beaten by crews that that you've beaten before. it it just highlighted how much like you're starting right back at the bottom.
How much work you had to do. It's daunting.
Yeah,
it was daunting. Yeah, and it did feel tough to show up, but at the same time,
Tough as in like kind of embarrassing because you weren't.
I felt that, but at the same time, I was trying to be like, no, I'm really damn proud of myself because I've got a tiny baby and I'm here on the international circuit, and we'd have other women from different countries come up to us and be like, it's so amazing that you're here, and then I'd be, thank you, and I need to be proud of myself for that, but at the same time, your athlete brain is like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to go home and do?
Yeah, are your respective inner voices mostly good? Like I'm thinking, I had Dame Lisa on the podcast and she talked about, how she gets really down on herself at the end of like a tough training week, like, and, has all this self-doubt and is she good enough? Is she doing enough? I'm guessing you guys just have that all the fucking time, like sleep deprivation and training hard. Yeah.
I think that one of the special things about having kids is, my self-talk and, doubt might have gone on longer in the day, but generally now I get home and it's just like straight into, okay, I've got to change a nappy, I'm going to make a lunchbox, she needs to sleep at 1, and I generally would just switch straight on and off from training, which, as we spoke about, means you can do both really well. My time at rowing I really respected and valued, and when I was there I was just giving 100% of what I had, and likewise when I got home, Kara was getting 100% of what I had, so there was almost less time for the self-talk of like worrying about rowing, worrying about training, worrying about the 1%, because I had a job to do at home and a job to do at rowing.
Yeah, what about you, Liz?
Yeah, I would say the same thing, and I think that's where probably I needed a partner, and I needed someone that's probably where the many small steps in the right direction came from, because there was such a long time where we were sitting in a place where we're like, okay, we're not happy with this performance-wise, but, in those times it was about focusing on where's the improvement going to come from and where can we get more, and as long as I was seeing like really small improvement, then I was okay with it.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to be so selfless as a mum to a newborn. You just can't have the luxury of getting in your own head, right?
It was quite a mental shift for me, I think, going from an athlete who, you never stop a session short, you do it as best you can, to then having this little person who needs you, that if you're mid-session and they cry, that you have to just stop and you have to get them, and it's quite, it doesn't sound like much, but it genuinely is quite a mental shift to be okay with like stopping mid-session to do that.
Yeah, I've got a very clear picture over the last hour of what sort of person you are. I think. Yeah. She's ferocious, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about high performance sport? Were they pretty good? I read or heard somewhere that they paid for you to see pelvic floor specialists or something.
So, yeah, same with Row New Zealand. This whole exercise, I guess, we couldn't tell them how it was going to go. It was like, we need support if we're going to do this, but we can't tell you how this is going to pan out. So, especially our relationship with Row New Zealand was kind of, we needed to say when we needed something, because we were learning as we went. And the first year we went on tour, we stayed in Airbnbs, and some things went well and some things didn't, and then the next year it was like, okay, this is going to be our Olympic campaign. We need Airbnbs that are next to each other. We need vans. We need the kids to have their own seat on the plane, because there's no way he's sitting on my knee for 17 hours. Just all the little things that we were working out.
That could get overlooked, like even as small as like our houses have a bath, have no stairs.
Of course. God, there's so much extra stuff to factor in, eh?
Which like, okay, a bath's not important if you're there for a couple of nights, but if you're going to live there for 5 weeks with a kid, then a bath's far easier than a shower.
And again, Row New Zealand was, great in listening to what we needed, and we essentially got what was the right thing for our campaign.
So cool that they believed in you. There must have been times when you weren't delivering the results and they were like, oh, what are we doing with these two?
I'm not sure, potentially. I didn't ask them.
It worked out great in the end. Hey, I mentioned on Instagram that you guys were coming. I've got some questions here. I feel like this first one's probably from like a rowing person or a mum or both. A question for both of you guys. Would you rather give birth to twins or do 4 times 2 kilometre max erg with 5-minute rest?
Definitely the erg.
Yeah, I'm going to say the erg too.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Which that is
Is that a hell session?
Oh yeah, that would
Four times
break, yeah.
2 kilometres max erg with 5-minute rest. Is that that's a tough session?
Yeah, but that's a really tough session. But I'd definitely rather do that than
Ask them about the financial side of being a high performance rower. Yeah. Do you get paid all right in terms of funding from high performance sport?
Yeah, we get funding.
Yeah.
I think for me, rowing isn't a financial decision.
You're not doing it to be rich, are
Yeah,
you?
there's not a lot of money left over by the time you're paying for daycare and all the extra things with kids. So I definitely came into this knowing that it was because I wanted to do it, not because there was mad financial gain.
Do you get like a gold medal bonus or anything? I know some countries do that.
Well, the way it works is it's called an excellence grant from high performance sports. So essentially our excellence grant now goes up because we've gone from silver to gold.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And what is that?
I think the difference between silver and gold is 10 grand.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you suffer from mum guilt? And if so, how did you overcome those thoughts?
Yes. And I remember thinking that mum guilt, I thought it was ridiculous before I had a kid. And I did. And it was very early on for me, just small things like you have a newborn and you've got used to having it attached to you the whole time. And as I was coming back into training, which I was getting out in a boat from probably 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe. And I remember thinking, I had to leave him and I'd leave him with either my partner or my mum, completely safe, completely normal. But because I was getting on the water and rowing up a lake where I'm like, I've got no cell phone reception and, things like that. Like if I'm needed, I can't get home quickly and can someone even contact me? And, and now I go training and I don't even think about that. But so early on, it felt so selfish. Doing things like that as an athlete, it felt really unnatural. It felt like I was just prioritizing my little hobby, and to leave him, it felt really unnatural. But over time, I've learned that that's absolutely not how I feel now. Now I crave going training sometimes, and it's my me time, and I need it to be better when I go home, and to think about only myself for a couple of hours is amazing, and it refills my cup. But it's taken me all of his first 6 months of life to start to grow into feeling that way.
What about you, Brooke? Same sort of thing?
No, exactly the same. Yeah, those initial weeks and months, it almost feels like no one else could do as good a job as looking after your kids as you can.
Well, I suppose it's a maternal instinct thing, isn't it? You're fighting against that.
And asking yourself, is this worth it? Is it not? But like Lucy said, getting to have that time for me to do something for myself generally made me a better mum.
If you went to Paris and the result had been different, and say you made the final but you didn't even get a medal, would it have still been worth it?
Well, that's a good question.
So you did your best. Say you even rode the exact same time as you did in the final, but
I know that I'd be disappointed. I know that I'd be sitting with disappointment. But I genuinely think that I would have said I'd given that the best crack that I could have.
I'd like to think that I would have been happy regardless of the result. I felt like I couldn't have done any more and was at the end of my tether so many times that it was all I could do.
Well, thankfully it's a hypothetical because we've got the gold, baby. How has the introduction of coastal rowing changed how you see the sport's future?
Oh, that's been exciting actually. So that's where we've just been in Italy. And we...
Look at you guys. Did the kids stay behind or they...
Oh, I took
Mine
Rupert. And Brooke left Kara, and I 100% should have left Rupert. But Mum came with me. She was a legend. She's like jet lagged as ever. And it was... Because the turnaround was really tight, because we were only there for not that long, basically, he didn't sleep the way over, never got into sleeping, and then we've come back. So anyway, that's done now. But the coastal rowing thing it's awesome. It's bigger boats, essentially. They're not the skinny skiffs that you see. They're wider, so they can go through some serious surf. And the race we did the long distance race, which is a bit different, and more like big rolling swell. But the sprint that's going to be in the LA Olympic Games is shorter than your normal rowing race. It's only 500 metres. So it's out through waves, like a bit of a slalom through buoys and then back.
Back to sprint up along the beach. So
Wow.
So it's great viewership.
Yeah. Would you guys be keen to potentially explore that for the LA games?
I mean, I'll stay dipping my toes in like the coastal side of like it's awesome to be out on the ocean. Like there's something special about going rowing in a coastal boat and being out at sea. But I don't think I'll be doing the sprint.
Someone asked on Instagram for Brooke and Lucy, what role do you each play in this partnership? I feel like we've had a glimpse of this through the past hour. So Brooke's, you're the boss.
No.
She is in terms of like Brooke is like timely, organised. Like if I said to her the other day, in the last couple of weeks, as we've like booked a few things into our calendar, I said I've started to get this real fear that one day she's going to message me saying, "Where the hell are you?" And I'm going to have to reply saying, "Where the hell am I meant to be?" She's definitely the one on top of all that stuff, and I think in this partnership, she also was the one that had done it before. Like she had sat in this boat class in Tokyo, and I had respected her so much through that whole campaign. Like she was a world champion in this boat class, and for me, that was being able to go to her constantly and sort of say, well, what do you think? Be really critical of that performance. Like, where do you think that's stacking up? Like, which bits are right here? Which bits are... Yeah.
I think our partnership has been so special because, of the, like, general mutual respect that we have for each other. Like, I look up to Lucy and everything that she's doing. And we're, like, always proud of each other. Like, there's no... Okay, Lucy is the most competitive person I know, but between us, there's no, like, competitiveness. Like, I'm genuinely happy for everything she does, and I feel that same feeling back. And I think what Lucy brings to the partnership is this just, unwavering competitiveness. Like, the fact that she said if we finished that race and we hadn't won, that she would have been disappointed, like, that's brutal, that's honest, and that's the Lucy I love, because I know if we're showing up to a race or to a squad piece that she's out there to win, and
she's doing everything.
I'm going to do my best to hang on behind her.
That's cool. Have there ever been any sort of arguments or, professional friction with each other?
I can honestly say no. It's been amazing.
But I think that...
Amazing.
Yeah, no, there hasn't.
That's so what a special relationship. And you're linked by this thing for life, regardless of what happens from here on in. It's such a cool thing to experience together. Any grim or traumatic experiences as new mothers that you remember? Well, Brooke, it sounds like the birth was that.
The birth's kind of been funny though. We've been on multiple bike rides. We go for 2 to 3 hours and had a lot of time to debrief these sort of things together. So I'm feeling a bit more confident now about if I ever get to go through again because of the time we've had to debrief that.
Someone, no?
You think you a particular one?
No. How awesome are long haul flights with toddlers?
Oh, it's so bad.
Do you fly business or
no?
Oh my God.
We don't.
Oh, but you get the front row with the baby.
No, because our babies are too big.
We had that when they were little, which was nice, and now we're back at the plane with a seat for them, and basically just turn on the TV for 17 hours. And Kira's quite sweet. She'll turn and look at me and be like, one more, for a good 17 hours.
And do you guys? I mean, I always feel bad when I see parents, probably more so with newborns on a plane and the baby's crying because it's like there's nothing you can do about it. It's nobody's fault. But do you feel bad? Like when your kids are making a lot of noise on the plane for the people?
No. I've done it enough times now that I'm just past that point. I'm like, you should feel sorry for me. You should be offering 100%. Me a bit of help. Yeah, I think I felt like that when he was really small, and now I'm just past caring and I'm just there surviving. And now he's at the age where he can watch a screen, and I never thought I'd be a parent that, shoves a screen in front of my child's face, but that's how I'm surviving those flights. Like you get on the Dubai leg and it's 17 hours and you feel like he can sleep for 5 hours and then wake up and you feel like you've been on this plane all day and you've still got over 10 hours to go, and I'm like, how am I going to get there?
Oh, it's such a long time. And
he's so full of energy. Yeah, it's so tough on them, but I don't plan on doing it again for at least a good 6 months.
That sounds like my sister. She was like, my kids are never going to be device kids, blah, blah, blah. And then now her kids, they've all got like little American accents because they've watched so much Disney Channel. Any role models who made similar comebacks that you draw inspiration from?
Oh, so many.
Did you pick the brains of anyone, like Dame Valerie Adams or...
I remember jumping on a call with Gemma McCaw and hearing how she did it. And yeah, again, we were so inspired by so many stories, but hadn't quite seen it done in our era of rowing and in the Row New Zealand program. So a lot of it was very new, and the advice we got was great, but until you live it and do it, you can't compare. And even if we were to give advice to someone else, it's so individual. Like what Lucy and I both went through, yep, sounds like we did the same, 2 mums in a boat, but it was completely different for both of us. So any advice that you could even give to someone could almost be irrelevant in their situation.
Yeah. So Sonia Waddell had done it in rowing years ago, obviously not in our time. And we knew that she'd done it. And I remember bumping into her in Cambridge, just in the street one time. And I was pregnant at the time and said, I'm going to come back. Well, that's the plan. And I remember her saying to me, okay, like, definitely doable. Yeah, go for it. And then she said, I did a World Cup at... I think she said 5 months, and she was like, I was useless, I was out the back door, but then I did one at 10 months, and it was awesome, and I really held on to that, and we did that World Cup at about the same time, and that was when it didn't go so well, so I really held on to it. Was such a tiny nugget of information, but I remember thinking, like, just keep going. She felt good at 10 months.
What do you mean 10 months? Like a month after giving birth?
10 months
postpartum.
Oh,
postpartum,
okay, 10 months post.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, geez, that's a long gestation period. 4th trimester.
She said it was a long pregnancy.
Have the girls been able to get back to their erg personal bests post-pregnancy?
Oh, I did one near enough. Like, I think I was just under 3 seconds. And I reckon if I'd done one more, I would have been within a second.
So you're there or thereabouts?
We were definitely there, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do one because I had a broken rib, but I'd like to think that by the time we got to Mum's, I could have been close.
And how do you hope to be remembered within the sport of rowing?
Oh, that's a nice question. Tough question, but a nice question. Probably as good mothers. Yeah. Yeah.
Supermums, isn't that the nickname?
It's probably not the word I would use.
I think Supermums is... so many mums are Supermums.
Yeah.
Like being a mum is tough, and so many mums are at their day-to-day jobs doing amazing things, and our day-to-day job is still our job, and we're just lucky that we get to be outside and we're chasing a dream, and okay, it worked out amazingly, but for the most part of being mums, it's just been us showing up to work and giving our best. And a lot of mums do that.
Yeah, I genuinely think there should be a few more medals handed out to mums who are just showing up every day for their kids, and the mums that have to go to work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but I do hope rowing has so many young women in the program all the time, and I do hope that potentially this could extend the retirement age of some women, because I think rowing's such a sport where you can continue to grow through your 30s, and I hope that if anyone comes a point in their career where they're considering it, just, if nothing, gives them a little bit of belief.
Yeah, well, you guys are true trailblazers, eh? And I suppose you've carved a path to prove that it can be done.
Yeah, I think so. And
Thank you.
on our podium, there were 3 mothers standing on that podium. So the girl in the GB boat who won bronze, it was a mum as well, and her son was a couple of months older than our kids. And I think even just for the rowing community and just the sports community, that parents shouldn't have to stop what they believe in to start a family. Like, you can do them both concurrently. I think it only gives you power and strength.
Yeah, you can have it all, and you can do everything at a high level. It's badass. Hey, it's really cool. You both proud of yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You should be. What about your partners? Proud of you?
Proud of us, yeah.
I think my husband's still in a bit of shock. But,
A bit of shock? In what way?
Oh, I think he, always hoped that this would be something that I could do, but I think until you do it, and he's been the one who's, seen me in all the worst days. generally can get through the day of training, get through the parenting side, and then it's, at 8 p.m. and Kira's asleep that I'm absolutely cracked and there's nothing left in the tank to give him. So he's just been an amazing supporter in that, to make sure that I'm looked after, and he's always supported me in my goals, and he's always made sure that I'm first and foremostly like happy and having fun, and I'm so thankful for that support I've had from him.
Well, it's true, you do, reserve your worst behaviour for the people that you love the most. It's just how us humans are wired. So,
and I think for both of them, like my partner never even questioned for a split second, oh, you're coming back to rowing? Like it was like, oh, that's what you want to do? Okay, we're doing it.
Oh, that's wonderful, having that support network around you. Well, you guys are amazing, and I'm so pleased we finally connected and made this happen. Congratulations for everything you've done on the water and around the house.
Thank you.
And I love you guys. Brooke and Lucy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been fun.
Thanks very much.
Thanks heaps.